Bob Billington was my mom's brother, and he was married to Jean Lemieux Billington. Now, Bob inherited his dad's farm, and my mom inherited his brother's farm. And we lived a half mile from each other, and often I would run or ride my bike to each of the farms. We shared a massive garden providing vegetables for both families through the year. We had a beautiful enclosed garden on the south side of the farmyard, a perfect environment for growing a garden. Rows of peas, carrots, corns, beets, tomatoes, cucumbers, everything you could possibly eat and keep over the winter would have been sown, weeded, fertilized, and watered, and of course, picked. Eating fresh was the best tasting food you could ever eat. Canning and storing it in the root cellars meant they had to be picked when ready, and from early spring to late fall, the work never seemed to end. I know Mother's Day was yesterday, but I would be remiss if I didn't include Auntie Jean, as I called her. She was a mother of two, Lorraine and Kenny. I'm Jungle Jim Hunter, and you're listening to 831 Living Your Best Life podcast, where we inspire participation, communicate precision, empower performers to podium. And we hope that you will tell your friends and relatives and those you know to go to their favorite podcast provider or junglejimhunter.com or to YouTube and subscribe, download, click on like, and rate and review us. And become an 831er, someone that makes a difference in other people's lives by helping them, because this podcast helped you. Well, I know, as I said, Mother's Day is over, but I didn't want to miss out on Auntie Jean because she was so vital and important and a mother. Like any of us, most times we do chores, it must be inspired to get at it and get it done. I was told by my mom and dad that curiosity motivated me just to find out how to do things. It wasn't that I wanted to work, it was just that I wanted to know how it worked. Auntie Jean would call and say we had work to do in the garden, and I would be on my bike, riding down the road before she hung up the phone. What really attracted me was the lessons that were incorporated into the process of growing a garden. As a child, I didn't realize the importance of this free education, but after the accident during recovery, I spent more time than usual in their garden working with Auntie Jean. I learned about growing a great herd of milk cows and growing the best crops from my dad. But after a while, it all seemed the same. But when I would work with Auntie Jean, it was reinforced by a different voice, teaching it a bit different way. I remembered my dad would repeat what Uncle Bill said, and I am sure Fred said a lot of the same things. Fred and Bill were brothers who homesteaded on this land in Saskatchewan where I grew up. Growing great crops and building a dairy farm took time, and for a kid it seemed like forever. But growing a garden? Well, that only took weeks before you were tasting a small juicy carrot or fresh tomatoes. An unearthed baby potato, even with the dirt on it, tasted so grand in your mouth that you could not wait to take the time to wash it and clean it off. You just ate it dirt and all. Fresh peas in a pod were not only juicy, but exploded a bouquet of senses in your nose and on the tongue that soon you found yourself eating the peas in the pod as well. I learned everything I needed to know about goal setting and reaching for them because it was obvious. You set the seeds in the ground, they grew, and in a matter of weeks you had something to eat. You set goals and they arrived. They were there. And it was clear you lived it every day, every time I worked in the garden. It no longer was work. It was an exercise in achievement, inspiring you to strive for the next lesson. It was also incredible how much I learned about how people need to be treated to live in harmony with each other from growing a garden. Yes, you had to seed certain things next to each other for the right reasons. Goal setting was never about results. That was a waste of time. Growth, however, was the key. Knowing what to grow and where and when to grow it and why was key to knowing how to grow the best possible food. It is also the key to growing a great business and a great team. Like people, some veggies are morning foods. They like the sun in the morning, but they don't like it in the afternoon when it's hot. And they need to be grown on the east side to catch the morning dew, but be shaded from the heat of the afternoon. Some are taller crops that need to be grown on the west side and feel the heat and be warmed for a longer period of time. Some needed the warmth of the sun all day, and some needed just enough to catch the warmth for a moment and then be shaded from it. Proper growth is far more important than what you achieve, because what you didn't eat in a few weeks would be stored away, and you learned what I call setting goals beyond the finish line. You knew what to do so that they were good long after the finish line was over. You have to have a plan once you cross it, so it doesn't surprise you. These were lessons from the garden that I loved, and it shaped my planning to become a competitive ski racer. I will always be thankful to my Auntie Jean, who gave me roots I could grow on and from when I ventured away from home. I'm grateful for the fun I had with Ken, her oldest son, and for all the hours that Lorraine, their daughter, spent trying to help me get my brain to function properly after the accident by doing homework and teaching me things I had forgotten. Hoeing, growing, and knowing. Hours of it. Hours of knowing what you were growing and hoeing it to keep the garden safe and the weeds out. Auntie Jean had a statement that I've never forgotten. She would say, "You are never hoeing the row you're growing. You are growing the row you're hoeing." And if you think about that, you'll understand it, because if it doesn't need hoeing, then you don't need to worry about it. But when you've got things that need to be tended to, well, that's what you're paying attention to. What you take care of, fertilize, water, and thin out to stay focused on proper growth is who you are becoming. The one kind thing you can do is teach from the lessons you have learned at what you are good at. Auntie Jean was great at growing a garden. Thank you, Auntie Jean Lemieux Billington. My mom had to work and my dad had to work and needed someone to care for me after the accident. And you helped me not only learn how to grow great vegetables, but you helped me learn how to set short-term goals and be consistent every day in taking care of them. It's that consistency. It's the consistency to just keep doing it that makes it pay off. It's one thing to have long-term goals, but what keeps you alive is short-term goals you must take care of daily. This is the connection from today to living a successful year that becomes a successful life. Thank you, Auntie Jean. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will have grown and will be living your best life the next time we meet. My quote for the day: what row are you hoeing? You are growing the row that you're hoeing. Thanks for listening.